What's up guys, Bones88 here, and we got a top 10 video. So I'm really digging for things content wise to do, things to get me excited for the game. There's almost none, but hey, I'm still playing. I gotta quit being negative. We gotta have some fun with the game, right? If we're still here, we're still here. We can complain all day, but we gotta have some fun. I'm a content creator, we gotta do some things. So with that being said, there's not any new stuff for me to talk about or do videos on that you guys haven't already seen or already don't know about. So we're just going to start doing some top 10 videos. So be ready for a crap load of top 10 videos. Top 10s are always fun. So yeah, so just be looking forward to those here in the very near future. With that being said, today's top 10, we're going to talk about the top 10 tanks in the game, the entire game. The way I looked at it is what's the best overall tank and overall characters. So it's not just their tank characters, it's the overall character, and they have to be a tank. So these are usually pretty long, so let's get right into it with number 10, baby. Number 10. So we have Mega Wheel. Mega Wheel is a lower end tank, but he's still really good. He still has a lot of good qualities, and getting into this video, I want to say there's no bad tanks in this game. Every tank you can use somewhere, somehow, and they'll have a use. So if you thought, man, what tank should I or shouldn't I stay away from? All of them work out. They all work out some way or another. So don't ever feel bad if you put in on a tank. But Mega Wheel is more of a lower end character and tank. But if you use them with Slinger, use them with Xantara, take them to gear 11, they're a decent team. And they're a hard counter to Goblins. Well, Goblins is a huge team. A Murdoch lead Goblins, that is. They're a huge team. So if you can counter them with Slinger and Xantara, Mega Wheel, and just some second tier demons that are kind of crap anyways, that's actually huge. So it's a counter you should work on. It's a counter you should always have, because getting around Goblins can be a pain in the butt. And Mega Wheel is a huge part of that. So here on Mega Wheel's passive, he has a unique thing called Torment, and it's a thing he stacks on him. And the way that works is upon suffering a critical hit or being healed by Xantara, Mega Wheel gains 1 stack of Torment for 3 turns, plus an extra 30% chance for 1 more stack. Each stack of Torment increases his armor and tenacity, so it's harder to remove stuff away from him. He's getting stronger, so that's a huge Torment. You want him kind of getting hit. So when he's taunting, as people are hitting him, for the most part, he's getting stronger. Also, this move right here, his A3, it deals 220% of physical damage to all enemies, plus an extra 25% of physical damage for each stack of Torment. So the higher his Torment is, the more damage he's pretty much doing, and the stronger and beefier he's getting. So it's a really cool system. It's unique to only him, and that's why he is number 10. Number 9. So we have Adam here. Adam, just like Mega Wheel, relies on other characters to make him better. And you pretty much need Instructor Gorham to make him a decent tank. You know what I mean? Because Gorham's, I think it is basic, makes Adam taunt. So it's kind of similar to Rally and Stim's synergy. And so that's why he's number 9 here. He's not the greatest tank by himself, but when he's in the right composition with the right goblins, he's a beast. He AoEs on his basic, he puts defensive down on his A2, his A3 gives him more shield and health, and he's just really good in a Murdoch team because you have Major Shot doing AoEs on his basic, you have Adam doing AoEs on his basic, and it just keeps you assisting like crazy. And so he's huge on that team. And that team is a counter to most Zera Orc teams. If you got them geared up right, you can hard counter Zera in most comps. Now there's a couple Zera comps you can't, and it also depends what their gear level is versus yours, of course, but it's still a huge team to be able to punch up at. Zera is better than Goblins, so if you can use a team that's not as good as the team you're trying to beat, that's a win every time in Battlegrounds. So that's huge. So that's all I have to say about Adam. He's a mediocre tank, and it takes other Goblins to make him better, so that's why he's number 9 for me. Number 8. So just like the last two on the list, Stim is a lot better on his own, but he relies on Rally to get the most out of him, to taunt more often. Rally has a move that makes him taunt, just like Gorham does for Adam. So, but he's a better overall character than what Adam and Mega Wheel are. Stim is just a beast, though. If you get him with a bunch of dwarves, which is also kind of why he's low on the list, because he really relies just being with the dwarves. He's kind of stuck in one area. But he is a beast. You get Rally, you get your dwarves up to about gear 12, and they are scary. They are very, very scary. He takes a lot of, like, Salvador type damage. He takes all the damage from the enemy team, while everyone else is just lighting people up. He is a true beast, but he's not a great standalone tank where you can stick him wherever you want. Now, I think he can do his job if you want to stick him somewhere. Like if you don't have a full dwarf team, but you have a good Nessa team, but you don't have a good defender for Nessa, you could stick him on there. You know, there's different situations. I'm not saying he can't do his job, but there's a lot better plug-and-play tanks that aren't Stim. You really want to keep Stim in a dwarf comp if you can, because he is a beast. And I don't know if you guys know, but the dwarves are the best team in the game. No one's touching it. You get him at the right gear and everything else, they're the best team in the game. And you can't touch them. I've seen some nasty, nasty dwarves out there. And if they put that on the front line of your battlegrounds and you don't have one to mirror or an amazing counter that's geared up to 12 at least, you're screwed and you've lost. I have not been able to beat a dwarf team yet against my opponents. So he's a character that you really, really need in a dwarf team, and the dwarf team needs him at the same time. And that's why he's number 8 on my list. Number 7. So we have Darian. Darian is a very interesting character. He does a lot of cool things. He used to be the meme, the joke of the game back in the day, but he's made a resurgence now that you are having to get more teams in battlegrounds. The better you get, he really fills a nice spot in defense, in offense, and gives you an extra team to use in battlegrounds. And to be honest, he is a tank and he does taunt, but the reason he's number 7 on my list is not because of his tank features, it's because his leadership abilities and things that he can do. So let's look at his leadership real quick. Both the physical armor and magic armor of all allies increases by 30%. Not just Order, not just humans, all allies get more armor. Allied members of the Order have a 50% chance to remove 1 debuff at the end of their turn. So that's not amazing, but he's cleansing. If you put nothing but Order in there, you're going to be cleansing a lot more. Is it just a 50% chance? Yes, that's a pretty good chance. 50% isn't bad. So you're cleansing. I counter full-blown prides, amazing prides, with Darian, Zappy, Boardwin, and just 2 others that I throw in. Now, most people are going to try to get Nelly going and all that, so I'm having to figure out something else. If you get things done right and put the right people, I think you can counter Pride with them. And he's awesome. I do it all the time. He's going to be one of my favorite characters. I hope to gear 12 him someday, but it's a long ways down the road. But since he is a tank, let's look at his tank ability. So he gains taunt and an armor increase for 2 turns. Removes 3 debuffs. Recovers 50% health. So it's a little selfish, but he's cleansing himself also. So that's pretty big for a tank. He's recovering 50% health. He's not a bad tank. I guess if you need a tank somewhere else and don't want to use him as a leader, you can still put him in there. You can put him in that Nessa comp. You can put him somewhere where you just need to kind of throw a tank in there. Either way, he's very useful, and I think he's way more plug and play. Well, he is more plug and play than the last 3 I've mentioned. You can use him as a leader. You can use him as a taunt. He's amazing. And he also does other things like dodge increase and everything else. So I think if you took this guy to gear 12, he would be a beast. And I want to do that. And I will eventually. And I will have no problems doing it. But there's just other characters right now that I want to gear 12 over him. But Darian's a beast. Love the guy to death. When you're first starting out the game, I think you should go for him sooner than later. He helps you in the campaigns. He will help you a lot more than you think nowadays. I wish I would have worked on him a long time ago, but back then no one had a use for him, no one cared about him, and things were different. But now I recommend getting him whenever you can, because he will help you out in the early game also. With that being said, Darian, number 7. Number 6, Kenley. In my opinion, Kenley is the best leader in the Panda faction, and he's a dang good tank. To get kind of the point of why he is, we kind of have to go through his kit. But he's recently had a rework, and I think it was for the best. And in my opinion, he's a damn good tank, and he's a good leader, and he makes the Pandas beasts. So real quick, let's go into his leadership. All allied pandas gain 30% of their maximum health. Pandas need that. Most pandas are pretty squishy. Not real bad, but a lot of them are pretty squishy, so 30% health makes them viable. Pandas recover 5% health for each critical hit dealt and each buff applied. Pandas with full health recovers 5% of their turn meter instead. So see, it feeds turn meter. Patriarch Key is great with him because he's always healing people. He's putting buffs on people, so they go hand in hand pretty well together. You have the T7 on Patriarch Key's A3, and they're just amazing. After Patriarch Key's T7 was added, he's pretty much another Eric Shield Breaker without all the damage. So they're pretty huge together. And then you can do so much behind him. You know, there's several Panda leads, but he just makes it to where they're tankier, and you can just do so much stuff. You can put Foul in for the dodges, Cool Eye for the heals, but you want to have Patriarch Key, so Cool Eye just doesn't really have a very good place right now. But there's just so many things you can do underneath a Kenley lead, and he's amazing. But that's just his leadership. Let's look at his passive and then why he's a tank. So his passive ability, Kenley is recovering 25% health at the start of his turn. That's awesome. That's cool. When the last ally dies, recovers 75% turn meter. When the allied panda dies, removes all debuffs and reduces 5-on-1 cooldown. Now with his rework, he has a bunch of other stuff going on, but it just made him better. So his taunt ability, it's removing 2 debuffs, so he's cleansing. That's awesome. Most of these taunts do, or most of the tanks in this game do, so that's awesome. It's always good to have that. He's gaining taunt, armor increase, and self-control. So remember, he's getting buffs, he's getting taunt, so he's just getting better the more buffs that are on there. He recovers more health. If Kenley is the last remaining ally, he gains counterattack, damage increase, crit damage increase, and dodge increase. So they're kind of making it to where if he's the last person alive, he gets better, stronger, increases attack. But I don't use him for an attack champion. He's purely tank. So all I know is he's gaining back health, and he's just a strong, sturdy guy. And that's why he's so good as a tank. So with an amazing leadership that makes pandas amazing, and his will to survive, that is why I have Kenley at number 6. Number 5. So we have Trongar. Trongar is an absolutely beastly guy. He looks like a beast. He is a beast. He has so much going on. He's one of the most unique tanks. Freaking unstoppable at Gear 13. Not because I have one, but because I've went against one, and it can pretty much solo everybody. This guy is amazing. He's worth taking to Gear 13 as soon as you can, if you want to. I would maybe say other characters, but I don't know. I want him to be one of my first 13s because he is nuts just by himself. So, he's also one of the most plug and playable tanks there are in the game. So why is he so good? Well, we kind of have to go through his whole entire kit. So let's do that real quick. His passive ability. When he's in a defensive stance, his physical armor and magic armor increase by 40%. So he's getting stronger, harder to kill when he's in defensive stance. When he's in a battle stance on the offensive, he's gaining physical damage. That's pretty cool. Is he the hardest hitting guy? No. But still, no matter what he's doing, he's better. No matter what stance he's in. So his taunt. Trongar assumes a defensive stance when you hit the taunt button. Using the ability again switches him to a battle stance, so every time you hit that taunt button he's going back and forth. This effect cannot be prevented or removed. Changing Trongar's stance applies taunt, counter attack, and potency increase for 2 turns. That's huge because I'm about to tell you why. Well, first of all, he's getting taunt, that's what a tank does. But the counter attack and potency increase is very important to him. Very important. You want to have high potency on this guy, and not most other tanks, but this guy is important because, mind you, he's counter attacking when I read you this. His basic, it deals 250% of physical damage to an enemy. There's a 35% chance to stun and inflicts a tenacity decrease to target for 1 turn. He stuns on a basic. Now, does he do it a lot? No, but it would be broken if he did do it 100% of the time, because think about this. He's counterattacking, right? He's taunting. So everyone's hitting him, okay? All the moves are hitting him. He has counterattack, so he's going to counterattack every time someone hits, right? Okay, well, you counterattack with your basic. So now every time he counterattacks somebody, he has a chance to stun you. There's times where, oh man, like you don't want to be stuck behind this guy's taunt. He's dangerous. There's times where he'll stun your whole team, and you just stay stunned for a while the whole time he has counterattack. Now that's all RNG based kind of, but it does happen. Even if he gets 2 or 3 of you, he gets it off more than you think he does. 35% doesn't sound right, but you jack up his potency pretty good, and he's hitting it a lot. So you got to be careful against this guy, especially Gear 13. You're most likely going to lose unless you have a lot of attack going out. So just because of his plug and play viability, because of his stuns on basic and counter attacking, that is why Trongar is number 5. Number 4. Alright, so on this one I might be a little biased, but no one can really argue because this guy is amazing. We have Salvador. Salvador is a mother freaking pimp. Like, this is the pimp daddy, this is my dude. He's got some Easter eggs from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, if you guys see. That's why they got this. I never noticed it, but like, if you look at him, he's like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. They have all the bands from all 4 of them. If you look on the back, he just looks like a Ninja Turtle in the back. I mean, when you get up here, he looks like Ed from 90 Day Fiancé. I just noticed that too. Like, he really does look like him. Anyways, this guy is amazing. Now, you kind of want him to only be in Pride. So that's why I think he's a little high on my list, but I love the guy. I can't do him wrong. I owe him for all the times he's gotten me out of things. But he's kind of relying on Pride, but you could make him plug and play. I mean, he does his thing. He just thrives in Pride. But he's definitely someone you can plug and play. And he taunts, just like anyone else, but this man's ability to stay alive, he blocks so much incoming damage. If you pair him with Roxy, he's almost completely invincible for a limited time, as long as you do the right things. Put her feathers on him, and then do Steel Shell. Well, what's Steel Shell? Well, right here, his A3 ability. He gains a Steel Shell and a debuff immunity for 2 turns. So you can't put debuffs on him, and you have Steel Shell. Well, Steel Shell decreases all damage taken by 90%. That means the max you can do to him while he has this ability up is 90%. So he's literally almost invincible. You can't do anything to him. You can't put any debuffs on him. You can take it off. You can dispel it. But it's hard to, because I'm telling you, you have Hera, who puts dodge increase on everybody. So he's not only dodging everything, you can't hurt him. He's freaking crazy. But what I'm saying, you've heard me say a bunch of people's names, so he's kind of reliant on that. But let's just say you have him on a completely non-Pride team. He still is able to taunt, and he's still able to put that Steel Shell on. No one else can do Steel Shell but him, and it takes away 90% of your damage. I mean, you could, I don't know who the hardest hitting person is, but take the best Boreas in the game, and they could try to one-shot him with Steel Shell on, and I guarantee you wouldn't even get close. You'll never will. It's negating almost everything. That's unique to him, and that's freaking huge. I love it. So another thing about him is his T7s are crazy good. they're crazy good. They almost make him to an elite level. If you see here on his passive, on his T7, if Salvador has a steel shell and taunt up, his speed decreases by 30%. That might sound bad, but for him, that's amazing. He's going slower so that he has that taunt and that steel shell for even longer. So they're stuck behind him even longer. That is a huge T7. So like the T7 on this one isn't too much, but it gives you a guarantee that you're going to get debuff immunity. Before, it's only 50%. And as you see, I have 7s on him. He was one of my first guy I 7'd out. He's amazing. And this move on his A2 is what makes the taunt happen by himself, without anybody's help. He makes the taunt happen, and this adds getting tenacity increase, which means it's even harder. He's getting debuff immunity. Tenacity increase means it's even harder to remove the debuffs. The dude's nuts. He can put every good... if you put him in the right thing, he can have everything on him, every debuff in the game, and no one's being touched if you have hair lead. I mean, he's really cool. And that's why he is number 4 for me. Number 3. So now we're getting into the god tier tanks. And this top 3 can be fluctuated any way you want. This is more my opinion. But these next 3 are all number 1 in my mind. So, but I felt like in the long run of things, Kiri is number 3. Kiri is nuts, guys. There's nothing I can say that's bad about her. She's crazy. She's elite. She is completely plug and play viable. You can put her anywhere, and if you're... I don't care what you put him in. She's going to be amazing in it, standalone by herself. First of all, she just looks awesome. She's really cool. She's viable at 4-star. If you unlocked Kiri, and you need a taunt for your arena team or something, and you're just starting out, take her to gear 11. Stop what you're doing, put her and take her all to gear 11, and it will enhance your arena team tenfold. I mean, she is amazing. Her health pool is crazy. Now, I have her at gear 12, because at gear 11, she's amazing already. But she has over 100,000 health pool, even without being gear 12, and if you gear her right. But she is so tanky. She taunts often. And, I mean, her kit isn't anything complicated. She doesn't do anything unique. She's just awesome, man. She's so beefy. And she's just unstoppable. If you see here on her passive, she recovers 15% of turn meter upon taking damage. She's a taunter. She's a tank. She gets hit all the time. So she's always recovering turn meter, which means she's always taunting. Like, you gotta keep her... You gotta slow her down somehow, because a lot of the times you're stuck behind her. You gotta get around her taunt quick and try to take somebody out while you have that small window, because she's taunting all the time. And to add on to that, when she can counterattack, and when she does, she's gaining shield back on herself. So she's dangerous. She doesn't do a lot of damage, but she's a tank. She's not supposed to. So to add on to the turn meter side of things, when she does her taunt move, her A3, she's getting armor increase. She recovers 10% of the turn meter for each living demon in the party. Well, you want her to be with the full demon party. So there's 5 there. She's getting 50% turn meter when she taunts. And then she restores her shield back again. And then, whenever she does her A2, it's awesome. She doesn't hit hard, but it's still a helpful AoE. She does an AoE, it deals 240% physical damage, and it recovers health by 50% of that. So that's how she's getting health back, because there's not a great healer in the demons, so this helps her stay alive as I mean, she's just perfect. Adding on to that, she does 50% chance to decrease enemies' turn meter. She's gaining turn meter and decreasing people's. That's nuts. If the enemy is afflicted by slow, it decreases the turn meter by 2 times more. That's crazy. Tanks that are doing that is awesome. She's decreasing turn meter, always taunting. Her basic, she inflicts healing block. And if the healing block's there, she applies bleeding. Like, is that not awesome? Her kit's not complicated, but it's so fun, so awesome, and that's why she's number 3 on my list. Number 2. Alright, I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this because everyone thinks Centurion is the best tank in the game. I might be a little biased. I'm a little sick of the meta. But these guys were in the meta, the previous meta before the Dwarves and Nelly took over. They're completely dominant. If you have Bar and Rel and Centurion in the same team, you can put them with anybody pretty much, and they're just going to smack you all over the place. If you see a Gear 13 Centurion, run the other way. He gets so many buffs, it's almost impossible to remove taunt unless you have a Naya or maybe a Cruel in there. But if you do, you're probably getting smacked around anyways. So they're so hard to counter. And you see a Zera team pimped out with these two at Gear 13. Run the other way. Even though they're not the meta in the arena, they're still one of the scariest teams in the game, besides Dwarves. And if your Dwarves aren't up to par, if they're not all Gear 12 at least, 2 Gear 13 Bar and Rel and Centurions are still going to wipe you out. Like, just because you have a low geared Dwarf, it's not a super hard counter until you get your Dwarves to Gear 12. So these guys are scary. I face them all the time in Battlegrounds, and they just destroy me every single time. But why is Centurion a number 2 tank? Well, his kit's pretty crazy good. Look at his passive ability. If he has Oink, he's getting armor increase. If he doesn't have Oink, he's getting 25 speed increase. One reason I don't think he's number 1 is because he's more reliant on Bar and Rel being on the team. If he wasn't so reliant on Bar and Rel, I think he'd be number 1. But you kind of need Bar and Rel to get the most out of Centurion. So if Bar and Rel are on the battlefield, they receive the same buff. So nothing too crazy, but they're making each other better, Bar and Rel and Centurion. So his taunt move, it's removing 2 debuffs, he's gaining taunt, armor increase, and regeneration, and slow for 1 turn. Slow sounds bad, but like we went over with Salvador, you want them to go slower. You want them to stay taunting longer. The faster they are, the less long they're going to be taunting for. He's recovering shield equal to 35% of their maximum health, and if Bar and Rel are on the battlefield, both gain crit chance increase. Now, he's not the hardest hitting, but this physical move he does here is huge. It stuns people, and it deals 300% physical damage. It's probably one of the hardest hitting moves out of all the tanks. Mega Wheel might be, you might argue about that, but this is one of the hardest hitting moves that a tank has. And if he has Oink, he's stunning and putting a healing block. And then Centurion gains slow after he does it. But if there's not an Oink, he removes 2 debuffs from themselves and inflicts it to the target the same duration. Either way, that's pretty badass. That's pretty awesome. So that's a awesome move. I really think it's cool. And then even his basics kind of complicated but really good. It's dealing damage, it inflicts tenacity decrease no matter what for 2 turns. Okay, that kind of helps if you're going against, if you're stuck behind a tank or something. If he has Oink, he calls a random allied half-pig to assist in the attack. That's cool. That's really cool. And imagine if Boardman assists. Then you're helping take off debuffs even more because he removes stuff on his basic. So anytime you can make someone assist, that's pretty awesome. And no Oink, he's inflicting armor decrease. So you could possibly be inflicting tenacity and armor decrease in one move. And that on a tank is pretty huge. On anybody is pretty huge. So Cent is crazy. Crazy. Just as good as any other tank in the game. You can put him 1, you can put him at 2. But with my bias where I'm kind of just like, I'm sick of Cent. I've never been a fan of the half-pigs. He unfortunately gets a number 2 spot. Number 1! Alright guys, we have Titania. And like I said, I bet a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this. Because she kind of has fallen out of favor. But man, she's amazing. I think she's very plug and play viable. Of course you want her with the elves because she has so much synergy with them. You can't hurt her, or she dodges more when you have certain elves with her. But she's so plug and play. And she's one of the most annoying characters in the entire game. Whenever we didn't have Centurion, this was the greatest tank in the game. And Centurion is giving her a run for her money, and maybe overall better. I would agree with you if you said so. I wouldn't disagree. But my goodness, she's annoying. She has so much dodge that you can never hit her. And even when you do hit her, she's tanky. She's a tank. Don't let her slim build make you think differently. Like, she runs with the best of them. She's a freaking beast. And how are you going to take her huge health pool down when you can't even hit her? The only complaint I have is that she doesn't taunt enough. Because sometimes people will get around it, and I keep waiting, and it's like, it's just like one turn off. You know what I mean? It's nothing to complain too much about. But if she taunted as much as Kiri does, it'd be over. It'd be done. She is the best. I mean, that dodge is... It makes me want to pull my hair out. And I'm not the only one that's ever said that. All I ever hear is, God, I hate Titania. You know, and she has fallen out of favor. So I wouldn't argue with you if she was number 2 or 3 on your list. So let's look at her kit and see why she's so crazy. Her passive. Increases dodge by 5% for each living healer or mage in the party. Twice more for elf healers and elf mages. If there's no taunt on Titania, she recovers 5% turn meter when an allied healer or mage takes damage. Twice more if elf healers or elf mages take damage. So obviously, you want to put her in a team with healers and mages, and definitely with elf healers and elf mages. So like a Nightingale team, I think she thrives the best with. Of course, you can do it with Thelane, but I think she really gets the most out of it when you do it with the Nightingale team. That's crazy amounts of dodge. And she's recovering turn meter quite a bit. If you jack this team full of healers and mages and they're all elves, she's getting a crap load of turn meter. Crap load of dodge. So her taunt move. So she removes 1 debuff from herself, allied healers, and allied mages. She gains taunt, cheat death, and counterattack for 2 turns. Yeah, counterattack isn't fun either. Now, she's not the hardest hitting person. No tanks are. But counterattacks suck. They're not fun. Every time, that's one move that they're getting on you that you don't have. So cheat death, of course, all tanks should have it. So it's a decent move. And as soon as I hit it, I'm just like, yes, I feel better about myself. She's got her taunt off. And it's just a B word to get around. So her A2 is like nothing to write home about, but it's not bad. For each living elf in the party, she has an extra 20% chance to call an elf to assist. Not a great chance, but it's not bad. And if the target's bleeding, she applies ability block. That doesn't happen too often, but it does here and there. So her basic is pretty good. And if she's counterattacking, that means she's using her basic. And when she uses her basic, she gains dodge increase for 1 turn. She also inflicts bleeding for 2 turns upon landing a critical hit. So usually you want crit chance pretty high in all your elves. So if she's landing bleeding, she's getting dodge increase every turn. This is a really good underrated basic for her. Because the more you have dodge increase, the more likely they're not even going to be able to do anything to her. And that goes back to this A2 where if they're bleeding, then she applies the ability block. So she's counterattacking, putting bleeding on everybody, and you use this move on somebody that's bleeding, well, they're ability blocked. Ability block's a huge move. So Titania's health pool, her ability to avoid attacks and have any damage done to her anyways, is my reason she's number 1. Alright guys, that's my top 10 tanks and dragon champions. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you guys disagree, if you agree, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like my videos and like my content, please don't be afraid to hit like, hit subscribe, do the usual YouTube creator thing. It helps me dramatically, tremendously. It gives me a little bit more confidence. It makes me feel good as a content creator, but it also tells YouTube that, hey, this guy's worth watching. So with that being said, I love you guys to death. I talk to all you guys every day in Discord, and I enjoy it. And it's my family, and then it's you guys. You guys are my family. You guys are my life, and I appreciate everything you guys have done for me. All the support, all the advice. You guys teach me more about this game than I teach you guys. I love just growing the channel and growing with you guys and becoming friends with you guys. It's my dream, and I can't thank you guys enough. With that being said, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.